It really is. Never changes, it's just you forget about it. Okay. Okay, I left in a tad bit of frustration, I will admit. I feel, or I felt, like my design, my thought, my process was getting the better of me. And in some ways it is. In some ways it is. I'm trying to push it too fast. I had an idea. I have an idea. And instead of trying to let that idea flourish, let that idea take shape, I'm trying to force it because I believe there is a time clock that is ticking by. And because of that, I'm trying to rush what probably doesn't need to be rushed. Because in the end, it's just me. I had an idea. It's an idea that's connected to a long shot of a hope. And what I need to do is, if I have this idea and I believe it is a good idea, I need to put the effort in, the well-due effort, to actually put it through in the way that I want to. And that means it's going to take a second. It's not going to just happen. It's not going to just occur. I don't have the exact tools that I want, and after getting frustrated and thinking I needed to go buy a brand new tool, and going to the hardware store, I thought about different remedies to how to fix the issues that I'm having with this particular part of the project. Because we have everything cut out, turned out, sitting here, ready to be somehow assembled. And the frustrating bit now is that I'm running into issues with how to move the wood in a way where it gets it to the design I'm seeking, so that it marries itself in a better fashion than it currently is. And that's going to take a second. Shaping all of this is going to take a second. I don't have the exact tool that I want to use. And because I don't have that exact tool, my mind wasn't allowed to, or wasn't allowing itself, or I wasn't allowing it to venture farther in possible other ways. And there's different ways to assess this situation. So the real frustrating bit here was our hinge piece here for what would be the, I think this is the leg. No, this is an arm. I think this is an arm. So what I was experiencing was, I was coming to the realization that because it needs to hinge, there needs to be a somewhat of a circle joint in there. And well, as you see, I figured out a way. Well, not figured. I attempted to go about trying to do it that way on camera during part 2. And again, because I was frustrated, because I was seeing how much time things were taking, and again, I've put myself under this strange time schedule, even though I'm not privy to the actual schedule. I'm not privy to the information, other than the fact that there is a possibility that there could still be an open casting for this character. But I'm foolhardy enough, and I'm also, I believe the idea well enough that part of me thinks, part of me hopes that if I can pull out this character, if I can make this character, I can have a shot. Silly, hopeful, many words could describe this all. But again, if I focus too hard on that, that's when things start to frustrate me. It starts to get me all amped because, once again, I am at the willing nature of my own ability or inability to pull from the mind and bring into the physical world. I have the ability to do stuff. You see before you, I have the ability to get to at least this part that we're at, which again, I think, like when you set everything all out and whatnot, like it really does have the effect that there is potential. Obviously, it's just wood chunks at the moment, but there's a frame being made. There's something there. And so the solutions are, right now, changing the design, starting all over again. There is an option. When I was at the tool shops, I got the idea that instead of trying to force this wooden hinge that I've created, why not just buy a regular metal hinge? That would solve the issue. It would put the angle of bend in the back instead of in the front, and that would kind of leave a weird empty gap. But again, once it's covered with a material, you ain't really going to know unless it pinches itself, and you can put a sleeve or something over that so that it does not pinch. That's an option. The only issue with that is then a lot of the leg and arm parts would most likely have to be remade to fit into that. There is a part of me that would really like to it would like to put all of this into a concept of 3D printing, because that's simple. I say simple, but it's not simple, but the idea is simple, because the idea is that instead of shaping, instead of having to work a material, you design exactly what needs to be designed. Instead of all of the time it took to make this little piece, the bandsaw, the lathe, the drill, all of it, you 3D model it in CAD, boom, it's done. Unfortunately, I wouldn't even consider it budding. I am a potential seedling in the space that is 3D printing and CAD modeling. And other ideas I've had in the past have gone to die because I put way too much emphasis on the design being made through CAD and being 3D printed. And there is a definite part of me that knows that all of this would be easier if I finally took the time to sit down and learn some CAD. Because if I did that, then this all could be a lot simpler, and then ideas in the future could also be simpler. Again, we come back to that weird imposed time restriction. Do I allow myself to focus on building a new skill so that this becomes simpler, and in hopes that the time clock is not continuously running out? And again, with this time clock, it could come up tomorrow. They could come out with a casting tomorrow. Hell, they could have a casting right now, and because of the actor strike, they're not releasing it. These are all possibilities. So do I play with that time clock? I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to. There's a part of me that has the string tension complex design, where instead of everything being done with a rod and kind of stick method, everything is done with inside of the chest of the puppet, and you basically have a controller, if you will, for lack of better terms, but it's more like a webbing of different string and line that you would pull, and depending on how it would work. That, of course, would take a little bit more design. That would take a lot more thought through, and that is getting into an idea where someone would want me to do something like that. I still think it's a grand idea, but that would require a need for it, or it would require again, having that silly, dumb mental time clock of mine not being there. Say it gets cast tomorrow, this role that I want, that I, for some reason, got the idea in my head is a possibility in my own right, if I can prove my ability to bring this character forth into the reality. If it gets cast tomorrow, what happens to this project? Do I keep going on? A part of me wants to. A part of me is so enthralled in the idea of how do you bring a character like that, something small, something both human but not. It's different than a character, or it's different than a creature that could be a puppet, like a true puppet, where the face is more animatronic because the need for that face is less so. But this character, and the way that my mind has it worked out, the ability to attach a human to this character allows the character to be more. It allows the character to be physically present. It allows the character to interact with all those around it and be interacted with. There's so much more to be said when you can speak to something instead of speaking to a green ball on a rod. Because that's what I believe the CGI version of this would be. It would be a hollow yet semi-present thing. Whereas this practical approach would be more of that physical nature. It would be able to be touched, to be able to be... Hell, you could do everything that you would do with any normal character. The only restriction would be, how would you allow it to happen? How would you take the puppeteer and the character itself and move that thing? Well, you could do many different ways. You could have it on a rail system where if the character needs to run a lot faster than that, the puppeteer could actually move them. You get the puppeteer on a skate of some kind, and then that will allow it to go. If this character needs to be interacted with in almost kind of a violent kind of way, let's say Chopper gets kicked across the room in this small form. How do you do that? You could just have a ragdoll puppet just fly across the room, and there's comedy to that, but there's also a falsity to it. So let's say you do it with this puppet design that I have the puppet design that I have proposed, where it's the human and the puppet. You could do something as simple as, because the rest of my body is already in black garb, you have another another person all in black as well. And instead of me moving myself, let's say the character gets kicked, and because it's an actual character, you can actually kick the character, and then that extra individual would then move it across. So I believe there is that actual viability to this character, and I believe it's been already kind of hinted that that's what they want. They want something like this, and again, that adds more fuel to this inspiration of the fire of inspiration, because it almost feels like this is the design they're looking for, and if I can bring it forward, that's the meat, that's the potato of it. But can I do it? I feel like today I kind of took lots of steps back, or somewhat. In the beginning, I felt like I was on point. I was on the lathe. I felt good being on the lathe. I was shaping things in a way that feels good, because once this is shaped with this, just to get that nice roundness, it's ready to go. The only difficult thing that I then have to go about doing is how do I gouge out this middle area. But that's simple. That's literally me taking a drill bit, going to the bore depth that I want, and then slowly with a chisel, chamfering it out. It's going to take a second. I think I'm going to stick with this design and see at least where it can get me, because I do believe there's possibility to it. I do believe there's potential to it, and I don't want to give up. And I kind of did a little bit today, because I have just moved here, because this is brand new to me, this shop, this space. I don't have every single tool at my disposal, and of course, like right now, I'm kicking myself. I was in Colorado, and I had access to all of the tools that I never actually really had a chance to use, because I was either in an apartment or I was thinking about doing something. And then I try to move down here as fast as I can, again, trying to beat this silly, dumb time clock I've made in my head. Down to Texas. And I had to make some choices. I had to choose what stayed and what went. And I think the choice to bring the bandsaw was a good one. The choice to bring the lathe was almost never in question. The lathe almost was always going to be with the situation. There was a thought about bringing the drill press. And when I'm talking about these tools, these aren't like top tier tools. These are all Harbor Freight specials. The lathe's a Harbor Freight. The bandsaw's a Harbor Freight. The drill press is a Harbor Freight. The belt sander is the Harbor Freight. The belt sander right now is kind of the real issue. It would be a absolute boon to this project to have that belt sander. It really would, because it would make shaping so much simpler. But if it really comes down to me needing to just take this and clamp it into this thing, then so be it. That's how we'll do it. It will work. But I think another aspect that had led to my frustration, again, because I had just moved in here, I'm just now setting everything up, and I got in on Tuesday, started working yesterday, and started working today. I really have not had a chance to pull everything out of my toolboxes and kind of figure out where all my stuff is. To find this rasp took a lot of digging, because again, I chocked that toolbox. I filled that thing to the brim, because I needed every tool, or I wanted every tool I could possibly bring with me, if possible. But because everything is all stashed and still in boxes, I get frustrated because I have to look for it, or I don't realize it's there, and then I try using a tool that isn't as applicably good in that situation. So I'm definitely battling with myself. That is a for surety. That is the unfortunality at this moment, is that I had this idea. I was inspired to pursue this project because the idea was so clear and so present, and in some ways it felt like the dots could connect. And now I just need to hold on to that. Whatever occurs, however it occurs, I need to at least try. Because goodness me, if I let another idea of mine that I feel has some kind of merit die because I was unwilling to push past the frustrations, but also if I allow myself to just start going to purchase more items to make things possibly simpler, that just leads down the path of putting more... It kind of goes back to the idea of the 3D printer and CAD. If I am consistently trying to shore up the weaknesses that I'm feeling right now with another tool, with another possibility of approach, then I'm only going to continue to think of what else do I need instead of what do I have at my disposal right now, because I have a lot at my disposal right now. And the main thing, the most important thing at my disposal right now is I have a space. I have done more woodworking in the last 2 days than I've had the ability or even the personal drive to commit myself to. Sure, I jump onto a project once in a blue moon every month or two just to feel how good it is to dive into a little piece of wood with a chisel. Because there's an aspect to it. There really is. There's something grand about working something into what you see in the mind's eye. And instead of getting frustrated, instead of seeing it as a time clock that I am in constant battle with, I should just enjoy my idea. Because I want people to also want something like this for a show like this. And if you just put one piece aside, if you put Chopper aside, if you put the idea that I'm trying to build here aside, I just want practical effects to be the commonality. I know CGI is beautiful. And the people that are able to create some of these things on computers with digital effects, they're damn near wizards, man. And I have so much respect for it, but if it is the trajectory of how entertainment and art is going to be, I much rather try to continually push for practical effects because it feels good. It feels real. A year ago, I got into the show Farscape. And I don't know how it went under my radar for so long. I love sci-fi. I love a good romp around the universe with a veritable cast of characters. And Farscape, man, it took me by surprise because not only was it a good show, not only were the characters fantastic and each story, each episode was well done, but everything was practical. And it had no ability, well, I guess some things were CGI, but for its time, like, it didn't have the ability we do nowadays to throw a green screen on every damn near aspect of a scene and just paste what we want there. They built things. They had a ship, a living ship. Moya must have been one of the coolest sets to ever have been a part of. Because it felt so real. I just want something real. I want to be a part of something real. I want to act something real, and I want to be a character. Put me in 5 hours of makeup. I'll show up at 2 in the morning. I do not care. I want to embrace a character. I don't want to just be a voice. And that's kind of where a lot of this vision really took a lot of me, because it feels like the exact thing that we need right now. Because not only have the One Piece cats really kind of hinted or put forth that they want practical, because they want this show to last for a long time, and I do too. I would love to see this thing keep going, and I would love to see it slow down. The fact that they are having to meld arcs together to fit into 8 episodes, they're doing great. But man, there's so many moments in this show that I would love to see hit in the correct way. And it already seems like season 2 is going to be taking the same kind of route that this first season has taken, where they're going to have to be very quick. And whether it ends at the beginning of Alabasta or it ends at the approach to Alabasta, I don't know. But I cannot see them doing everything from the entrance to the... Well, I guess they still... I must admit once more, I have only seen the first 3 episodes of the show, and then I had to leave to go back to Colorado, and I've now returned to Texas. So I could finish the series now and kind of really get the aspect of it. But from what I've seen online of Arlong and the Fishmen and their makeup... I've seen of the snail phones, and there's so much there, man. There's so much there. But if they go from the end of Logtown to the end of Alabasta in one season, God, we're going to miss out on so much. And it's a money thing. It always comes down to a money thing, don't it? In my mind, and I think it's pretty well ventured, at least, if they do CGI and the reason they said that they're probably not going to do CGI or try to limit the amount of CGI is because of the cost. You can't do a character like Tony Chopper in CGI every damn episode and expect it to cost. It's going to cost. But if you had a puppet, if you had an actor, if you had a small crew, does it cost more? I don't know. I don't know this actual side, to be honest with you. I'm kind of hoping that the amount that it would take for me to produce this kind of thing, or a group of people to produce this character, would be a lot less than it would take to insert said character into a scene that's not even there. Or again, if it is a green ball on a pole that just serves as the representation. It seems to cost more money to do that, but I don't know. Maybe it does cost more money. Maybe it will cost more money if my idea is the kind of thing they go with, where they then have to delete something from the scene, then add it. Again, I'm kind of out of my element in how all of that works. I'm hoping that the technology is I hope that masking technology is either simpler or more applicable to the situation than the CGI technology. God, what a ramble. God, what a ramble that was. That's the end of day 2. We've got it was a 3-part day. Ooh, pardon me. A 3-part day. Started off good. The middle got hella rocky. But I am once again in my resolve. I believe this is a good idea. I believe if I can produce even a semblance of what I see in my mind's eye, if anything, it will help people get adjusted to the idea of something like this. And who knows, man, there are so many grand animes, so many grand storybooks. Hell, I even forgot, before I end it, one thing that made me hope for more practical effects. And it was so funny because the reason that this all came up, or what I'm talking about right now all came up, when people heard that the Warhammer 40K universe was going to be getting a cinematic adaptation, whether that was movies, a series, who knows, people started plugging it into AI. And it's so funny that AI spat 40K out in this beautiful 80s, 70s, kind of early 90s fantasy style, man. Chunky armor, very grotesque looking ogres, man. The kind of things that you could make for that show in a practical sense. God, man, practical Space Marines would be so much cooler than a CGI Space Marine. And right away, and again, this is going off of, again, a whole nother tangent, it comes down to perspective. When people hear that something like a human hybrid reindeer needs to be brought to the screen, right away, CGI, it makes sense, especially because it has multiple forms. It has a small form, it has a deer form, it has a big form, it has a gigantic form, it has a cut form, it has a fat form, it has a fluff form. That's so many damn forms. But in my mind, the first thing I think is that you do a puppet for that small form. You do a harness with stilts for the deer form. You get an actor that is bigger than me, and you have them play the large form of Chopper. You get a big old, what are those Zomba balls? Like the things that people climb in? It is so easy to make a fluff Chopper in that. You literally just have the same face you have for the mascot in the Zumba ball, or whatever the thing is called, and you cover it in fluffy hair. For the Kung Fu one, I don't know if they'll ever, if the One Piece live action gets to the time skips, oh my god, that would be, that would be crazy. But going back to the idea of Warhammer, when you think of a Space Marine is an 8-foot tall almost demigod. When you get into the Primarchs, that's a whole nother story. But then the rest of the universe isn't so. Orcs, pretty big. Tau seem roughly human size, but then you got the Guard. Then you got Admech. Then you got Tau. You got Eldar. Eldar probably could be around 6 feet, maybe a little bit higher. You got all of these veritable size ratios, and when you think of a Space Marine, you think you want to make it big, but people have been making these cosplays already for so long, and they're good. But these are regular cats, man. Sure, some of them are 6 feet, some of them maybe even taller. But the way you do a good Space Marine, at least in my mind, the way that I thought it when I first started seeing the AI spit out the 90s, 80s fantasy, is that you get tall people, man. All you gotta do is you get tall people to play Space Marines, and then you get short people to play everything else. If you have every Space Marine played by a cat that is 6'2", 6'5", like, sure, that's kind of hard to find. It's not the average, but there are cats out there that are that tall. And when you get a person that big, they already kind of have those features, and then you strap them up in power armor, that's going to look like a Space Marine. Absolutely. And then you know what you do? You get a cat like me, a cat that's 5'7". You throw him into some mechanical garb, you put a gas mask on his face, boom, you got a Kriegsman. Boom, you got an Admech, Skitari, anything. And this could all be done in practical effects. I think I've rambled myself out. A part of me wants to leave it on while I clean up. A part of me wants to cut it because I already have, goodness, man, it's almost 7+ hours of that first 2 parts, and then however long I've been jawing on this. And I got to edit all of those and put them out because the idea is still in my mind. The want is still in my mind. The possibility that this character could be something that I could play. Because I do believe it, man. I do believe that once that puppet is there, once my face is in a cowl that kind of deletes the cheekbones, that kind of deletes the chin, once the hat is on, and then once maybe a little bit of paint or facial cosmetic is blended in, I think I could be that character, man. I see it. And even if it ain't me, I do hope that that is the way they do it. I hope they got a real cat in a costume playing Tony Chopper. I think I could do a damn good version of him. And I'm still going to pursue it. So that's it. That's that. Do I want to leave you on, or do I want to shut you down? What are we at? We're already at 37 minutes. You know what? We'll leave you on, and it will just be a nice little cleaning montage. How about it? I'm going to turn on my music. And I'm going to get to cleaning. We can't really move the camera in more of an advantageous position, so I think there's where it will stay. And tomorrow I will come back. We will begin again. And hopefully, my frustrations don't get the better of me. So, let's get to cleaning this thing up so that hopefully I don't freak out tomorrow. close. Oh, in the out of your ghosts. They got the bodies the most. They will not get a close. See it all in his eyes. Woman, I dry. We can order a pie. You want all the supply. Hawking the big tool. Look at this tool. Could sell to the label, but pay enough. Got the wheels until the label up. I type. Play with us. Pack a box. Have a box. Box. A box. Be a week. Shoot. I'm gonna live this song. They're doing bad again. The shooter do it bad again. Let there be wisdom. Put the Uzi. Spooky. Fly away. Somebody gotta die today. I know where that bitch stay. Her grandmama stay. I know where that bitch stay. House on fire. Hot diamond. Fine Jana. Coke and fine China. That's where that screw was. Don't even remember where I threw it to either. That's kind of a dumb thing to do. Well, at least now I know where that screw, what that screw is for. I lead what is known as a good life. Why do I feel like a traveler around a whole room of strangers? God, dude, Stove God, bro. What a strange thing for... What a strange man to be such a strangely... just prophetic. Prophetic? I have no qualms. Not a single one. When it comes to referring to rappers as modern day poets. Some might say that they do not occupy the same space as poets in a classical sense. A Walt Whitman, a Robert Frost, a Shakespeare. Man, the way these cats control the English language, if they are not poets, then they are wordsmiths. And if that title is one that people have qualms or questions about, then what else would you call them? Shall you only ever refer to them as rappers? Because if you refer to them as rappers, they are rap artists. They are artists that are rappers. Artists in some ways have to be referred as something else besides just artist or just a rapper. I believe they are poets. I believe they are the new age of poetry is what it is. And sure, some of it is trite. Some of it is WAP. Some of it is the thong song. God, but man, some of it is good, dude. Some of it is Stove God. Some of it is Fly God. Some of it is Conway. Boldy God. Like Boldy on Claiborne kick. Fire. Fire. Stove God on Jesus crack. Woo, woo. Stove on... Dude, Stove on... Honestly, you put Stove on anything, man. The cat's a god. He knows his he knows what he's rapping, and he knows how to rap, and he knows how to build that together. But like West Side, Yasin Bey, Talib Kweli. perfection. Perfection. Run the jewels, and Stove God cooks. Switches on everything. Ugh! The lines in that song. The lines, man. J. Cole, a true poet, man. A wordsmith. J.I.D., a wordsmith, a poet. The way these cats take words and combine them one after the other. Eminem, poet. Dre, poet. Again, sorry. Random need to express these feelings, especially when you hear just a good line, man. Especially when you hear a damn good line. How can you not? How can you not see like two phrases or a concept be melded together, even if you never even experienced the joint, man? I've never cooked, smoked, or even thought of crack cocaine, but the way these cats can find a way to work that into any kind of dish, shit, it's good. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. And you know what's funny? Them cats might not even think it. Them cats might just think, I'm here for the bag, man. I think West himself has said that he ain't even a rapper. He just got in it, and he realized he was doing good. What else are we doing? Do we need to do anything else? I think it's clean. I think it's good. Well, it's clean. It's not good. There's a lot that needs to be done to get this space in a state that I could consider a workable area. Because right now, this has been my space. This has been me. And I need to be standing, or if anything, I need to convert one of my wine boxes to a mobile workbench of some kind. Because if I had a Fresnay? I don't know. If I had a wine box, I could attach stuff to it. I really need to attach that vise. That vise is very important because without it, I don't believe I will be able to shape in the way that I have the ability to now. I know I have the ability to shape with the tools I have. I do not need to go buy a belt sander, a mini sander. I have a sander. I need to get sandpaper. Maybe that's all. But I might need a new blade for this cat. Okay, I think we can call that the end to this day's events. Again, started good, had a frustrating middle, and I think the way that I was phrasing it to myself, especially when I was, and of course, I got frustrated at 4 o'clock, and between the time of that frustration and me thinking I need to go buy some tool, I got ready, I took a shower, I got all the sawdust off, got in my car, and it was already like 4:45, and traffic hit real hard. And so that didn't help the frustration at all. Not in a slight bit. But man, what I was repeating to myself is, man, that Dunning-Kruger effect really hits hard when it hits hard. And though I can admit that I am not as proficient as I once was, I still have the same brain. I still have the same creative aspect to me that I had in the past, in which I did this. It was never in a professional setting. I only ever really got my teeth into props in college, and so that was, goodness me, damn near a decade ago at this point. And there were a few other projects that I made along the way since then, but most of it has just been woodworking. But from what I have done in the past and what I know myself capable of doing now, as long as I don't overextend my own thought. I have a 3D printer. I am not ready to dedicate myself to that 3D printer. Amongst all of these boxes over here, I have a forge because in the past, I have had the need, and the application was actually presented to forge something, to cast some, what was it? The successful one was I was able to cast a ring of skeleton keys out of aluminum, and they were a fantastic, like, jangly prop. However, I then took my success in that and I overextended my ability, thinking I could take on a more intense project. And where I was getting to a point that it could have worked, I just didn't have the time to complete it. And so I don't think the forge is something that is applicable to this project per se, at least not at the moment. At least it has not crossed the brain. The thing that keeps crossing the brain now is the 3D printing. Because again, the 3D printing absolutely makes sense for this project because of the small intricacies of these parts. It would be so much easier to make these joints. Hell, it'd be so much easier to make the whole entire puppet body in a 3D printed material than it would right now to do in wood. But I know how to work wood, and if I don't get frustrated, if I don't feel like I'm lacking the tools, when I have the tools, I just need to uncover them. Yeah, I need to keep within my realm. Because yeah, it truly does hit hard, that Dunning-Kruger effect. And the inspiration doesn't hit as hard as it used to. At least in that moment. I got frustrated with the traffic. I got frustrated with myself. Got frustrated with my idea. I started to let the negative aspects of the sheer... I don't want to call, you know what, we will call it. The sheer improbability of all of these dots connecting in the way that I want them to was really eating at me. And just because there is a sheer impossibility does not mean that it is impossible. I don't like the idea of impossible. At least in the sense that until proven otherwise. Again, Tony Chopper could be cast tomorrow. It could be some kid. It could be some dude. It could be anyone. It could be a voice for all we know. Or at least now we kind of know it's going to be practical. But I need to allow my inspiration to not die or not be in some ways doused or fetid. Doused or reduced just because of the impossible nature or the improbable nature of something. Because because something is improbable does not make it a useless aspect to us to strive to. I don't think anything great would have been done if the thought after a grand idea was, but it is probably impossible. And I can't allow that to consume me either. So this day is done. Day 2, rocky as it was, in the books. And tomorrow, we begin again with a renewed vigor and a resolve that no matter what, we're not going to get frustrated. I am not going to get down, and I'm going to enjoy the fact that I am finally able to pour myself into the aspect of physical and the aspect of acting as art that I've always wanted to create. And that's what this is. Practical approach to Tony Chopper. Day 2. Still paper to planks, but at least now things have shape. At least now things have some shape. And you know, I'm pretty sure I could have gone live for this last one, but in general, I'm pretty sure tomorrow we'll be able to go live and it will be a lot more fluid. At least it'll be easier because it's going to be... If I can get any of these videos posted before 2 a.m., it will be a damned miracle. But that's the task now. I'm done in the shop. No more can be done today due to sound, due to the fact that I need to let myself breathe for a second. And I need to edit. So, to the computer. Here we go. You know, I was gonna do it for like theatrical effect, you know, hanging up the hat, turning off the light, but it didn't really work. So